Right.
Okay, guys. Good morning. Rich Stack, Timmy Walsh coming to you live. I'm down on the U of I campus. Rich is in the Engine 63 Truck 16 dugout at his house on the south side of Chicago. I'm going to go over a couple of ground rules with everybody before we get going here. So I will link the handout to today's classroom. We had some questions last week and people wanted the handouts. If you click on the Zoom app, you should be able to hear audio, but you can dial in to hear audio as well. To get the handout, you're not going to be able to click directly from the Zoom app, although one of the students already posted in there as a PDF, so you might be able to get it from there. So you need to minimize the Zoom screen, go into your web browser, and copy and paste that link into your web browser, and then you can print it at home, or you can save it, or you can follow along if you know how to share your own screen and do that yourself there. But we wanted you guys to have something. The way that the chat room is set up is so you're only talking to me because there are 281 people in the room, and it gets too busy for Richie and I to manage questions. If we allow you guys to chat amongst yourselves, we don't see the questions coming in. So if you have a question, just go ahead and type right here, and I'll get to it as fast as I can. I'm trying this time, we learned last week not to interrupt Richie too much because it messes with the flow. So Richie and I are communicating with text messages as well, so we can get a break in here. We also had some students ask about breaks. Hey, listen, you got to get your own hall pass from your wife or your kid who's ever sitting there watching with you. If you don't want to come back, you don't want to come back. We hope that you stay for the whole day, but we're not going to, Richie and I aren't going to take any breaks. One of us might be off the camera. We got a lot of material to cover, and we want to make sure we get it all in there for you. So Richie and I have been teaching together a long time, and we appreciate you being here today. Richie's got a great program for you. I'm just assistant. He did all the hard work on this. We appreciate all the help we got from our marketing partners and the director to get that handout done for everybody. Your CEQs have already been mailed to you. They're in your email, and we really take those CEQs seriously. We actually look at them. Richie and I read all the ones from the 400 people that texted in last week's show, Tuesday, and we made changes to today's program based on that. So if you want your course completion certificate, get that CEQ today right away and get it into us so Richie and I can work on this. We're going to be providing live classes for the next month here at FSI, both in the Zoom platform and our Facebook forum. So follow our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and we'll show you what we're going to do. And a recording of this classroom will be available there, Ethan. We're going to get that done, and we'll post that to our YouTube channel as well so that you guys can use. I will repost that link in just a second here, but without me running my pie hole too much more, here's my good friend Richie Stack, and he's going to take it away. Nice to see everybody today.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Like my friend Tim said, my name is Rich Stack. I'm coming to you live here on the south side of Chicago in my basement. We appreciate you taking this class. As we found out Tuesday night, we had over 400 people online listening. That is unbelievable and amazing. So with that being said, this is a great platform and format for us to pass out information, shared information, and training. So if you have questions, like Tim said, type in there. The other tidbit of information I'd like to give you before we get started is all students must attend the full class in order to receive their certificate of attendance. Your certificate will be available approximately 2 weeks from the end of class today. In order to receive your certificate of acceptance, you will need to go log on to IFSI's website and click on the Student Central and then under Certificate and Grades. And we'll probably have that on our virtual tab on our website of how to get your grades. We'll maybe put some info there to make it easy for you to understand. You'll also see when you go to our IFSI website that in that Zoom platform or where the link is for the virtual training, that's where also the PDF again is for this class, as well as on there, the list of other classes and dates coming up. So thanks for being here, and we'll get started. So fire behavior and smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire behavior, because the two definitely go hand in hand, and you have to have an understanding of the two to be a successful firefighter, have hopefully a successful career. A lot of things people used to say was you had to be a student of the game, and to be a student of the game, the two classes that you really need to learn about is fire behavior and building construction. Now we tie in very little bit of building construction. You may have some building construction questions, I get it. Well, we can do a building construction class on another Zoom platform. We're sticking pretty much more to fire behavior and smoke and how it relates to us. We will add a little bit of tactic stuff if we can, but the whole premise of this class is to talk about fire behavior and smoke and what's kind of going on, okay? Some sobering statistics. Fire kills more Americans each year than natural disasters combined. I know this year may be a kind of an odd one because of COVID-19, everything that's happening, so I get it. U.S. Department, I got to minimize this here. The U.S. Fire Department responds to a fire every 17 seconds. It's a pretty scary fact or thought. Fire service and the military. A lot of people say that we're in the military. There's a correlation between the military and the fire service. Working next to your brother and sister, relying on each other. When you look at these two pictures, there's a fight going on, right? That's a team trained together, practice together, their tools and equipment. Military has their guns. We got our fire hose. So to be battle ready, you have to train, you have to prepare, and you have to educate yourself. And that's exactly what you're doing here this morning. I appreciate you being here on a Saturday morning. Okay. Knowledge. You need to have a knowledge of these three things. We already talked about that. Fire behavior, smoke behavior, and building instruction, and we'll talk about that. By knowing these three things and being educated in, you maybe can make a better or more educated decision on the fire ground. Okay. Without a doubt, a lack of knowledge in a fire service for fire behavior is one of the biggest causes of firefighter fatality or injuries in training as well. We have to know fire behavior and building instruction. Okay, here's a quick video about a house explosion. We'll just watch the video real quick. And
Tom Champagne, a volunteer with the Cranesville Fire Department in the town of Amsterdam, New York, leads a training exercise.
Here we go.
The 32-year-old father of two had no idea what was waiting for him when he kissed his wife goodbye on this morning.
She said, "Ginger, are you sitting down? It's bad. It's your husband."
Tom disappears in the blast. The explosion is comparable to 4 sticks of dynamite. It's like Tom was standing directly behind 3 jet engines at full power. Slowing down the explosion, you can clearly see the frightening force. Those are heavy 6x6 beams, splintered by the blast, sent flying like toothpicks at 70 miles an hour. And that massive chunk, that's the entire dining room floor.
okay. So, fire behavior, smoke behavior, building construction. That's what we must have understanding of. All right, so I'm going to stop it for a second because with the volume in full screen, I can't get to the volume right now. Looking at this picture, you're going to see a lot going on. I know the videos aren't always the clearest. Got to remember we're using a Zoom platform. Right now we have 327 people online, so a lot going on. But watch what's going on. You can see the smoke, the flame, nothing changed. And what you're really going to see as this video plays is right when this thing, whatever's going to happen, happens. I don't want to tell you what happens. There's a firefighter right there, okay? Couldn't see a lot there from the distance we're at, but here we are operating a fire. A lot of smoke going on, a lot of fire conditions going on, heavy fire, not controlled. You know, and buildings can only last so long under fire conditions. Different buildings react differently to different fire conditions. And here's an example of not understanding fire behavior, building construction, and smoke. Maybe we're missing what we're seeing. And unfortunately, here, part of the wall came down and trapped the firefighter. Okay. Fire behavior, two things we talk about with fire behavior. It's fire and combustion. Fire is the rapid oxidation of combustible materials accompanied by a release of energy in the form of heat or light. We see that every day when we go to fires. You feel the heat and you see the flame or the glow of the flame. Sometimes it's masked by that smoke, and you may not always see, but usually you can feel it and possibly hear it. Combustion is an exothermic chemical reaction. I'm going to minimize my chat when I'm covering part of my PowerPoint. Is a chemical chain reaction that is self-sustained process of rapid oxidation of fuel that produces heat and light. Form of oxidation, rust, but that's not rapid, right? Rust is a form of oxidation, but that's a slow process, where when we're talking combustion as it relates to fire, it's a rapid process. All right, fire behavior, we're talking about two things with the fire triangle. One is heat, fuel, and oxygen, okay? The other, the fire tetrahedron. That's that bottom side of a triangle. You got three sides, almost like a pyramid. You have heat, fuel, and oxygen again, and that chemical chain reaction. Combustion, as we said already, an oxidation reaction, right? We talked about that. Several factors needed. You need fuel and you need oxygen. We already talked about that. The fuel range can range different from what's in a forest to your home furniture to oil to gasoline. Everything's got some type of fuel. Some are more likely to burn or more readily to burn than others. Fuel can be found in three forms: gas, liquid, or solid. Oxygen, usually around our air, it's about 21%. We need 21% oxygen to breathe and live our everyday life, and that's pretty much what we're at. Okay, if the oxygen concentration is lowered, combustion will not happen. It will limit it. Okay, if oxygen levels drop below 14%, flame combustion will become a problem, and the fire will take on a stage of smoldering, kind of like smolder itself out, diminish. Okay, you won't even see flames anymore. The combustion process is incomplete at 14% oxygen. Okay, this will increase the amount of smoke, may increase the amount of gases, but you won't see that flame anymore because the flame's getting smothered out. When opening the building up, what are you going to do to the fire behavior? You're going to change it, right? If we get on the scene and we just talked about maybe that oxygen level is below 14%, it's starving, looking for air. We open the door. What are we doing? We're changing the environment. Okay. Will the fire increase intensity? 100% it will. We're allowing that oxygen to flow in. And what are hazards? Flashover, backdraft, rollover, smoke explosion. All those are those hazards that we could be encountering. Okay. Heat is transferred by primarily three ways, sometimes simultaneously or sometimes just two. It just depends. Conduction, radiation, and convection. Conduction, point-to-point transmission. You see the pipes getting heated up, transferring along the pipe. That is how we do that. That's how that's transferred through conduction. Convection, the transfer of heat energy by the movement of heated or liquid gas. Direct flame contact, right? That heat's going up and in. Your oven may be a convection oven. The other one's radiation, the transmission of energy as an electromagnetic wave without an intervening medium. So go out in front of your house, you'll go up today, you look outside, underneath the sun, you'll feel that radiant heat coming from the sun itself. Okay, what do we see when we see a flame? Well, there's a couple things happening. There's a chemical reaction with numerous chemical reactions going on, and there's a release of energy. And we already talked about that energy being heat and light, flame, and the light of the flame itself. What is with that? Okay. Energy in the form of a heat from a match, that's how that candle gets lit, right? We light a candle, we use a match. That's our spark. That's our ignition, okay? Melts the wax in the wick. As the wick heats up, long chain hydrocarbons break apart and they are drawn up through the wick itself, okay? And that's what makes that wick last so long. It's really the gases that are coming up and are burning along, or that fuel that's coming up the wick itself. The flame and the vapors get hotter and it keeps breaking down the wax. Cool, whoever did that, they got rid of that mark. Nicely done, you guys. The reaction process, okay, what happens when there's that chemical reaction going on? You'll have water, you'll have soot, you'll have carbon dioxide, and you'll have heat, okay? With that soot, okay, it absorbs some of the energy and gives off a yellow light that we see. The remaining heat, it radiates back into the candle and keeps burning down. That's pretty much what's happening when a candle's burning. That's what's happening at a fire with a fuel, okay? So what's burning? It's not the wick or the candle, it's the gas the hot wax is giving off. Okay, question there, I just blew past it real quick, I'm sorry. Will smoke burn? That's the question we're gonna talk about here, and we're gonna show some videos of that. Will smoke burn? There's some people here maybe listening today that have many years in the fire service. When you came on 20, 30, or even more years ago, when you first came on the fire service, there was probably a phrase that they said, you put the wet stuff on the red stuff. You put water on fire. We don't put water on smoke. Well, things have changed in modern time. The amount of temperature that our fuels are giving off today, much hotter than we had when our grandparents, our great-grandparents were around in their homes, and you'll see some videos to correlate that. And that smoke that we see now, it's thick, it's black, it's chunky. There's fuel in there, ready to ignite, ready to give off fuel, ready to give out vapors, ready to burn. What's in smoke? 10% is visible, okay? The other 90% you can't see. It's carcinogens, okay? And they can have acute or chronic issues. What's in that smoke? Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, carbon particles, sulfur dioxide, water vapor. If you have complete combustion, when you look at your car running, you see water dripping out the tailpipe, that is a form of complete combustion. That's all that left is that water vapor. The other thing you may have is hydrogen cyanide. We have a lot of firefighters get injured in overhaul stage from that smoke because they're like, it's safe. I've been a big guilty person of that myself. You pull it off, you end up going back to the firehouse, you have a headache. Well, a lot of times it could also be from that hydrogen cyanide you're getting off. We're seeing that we have hydrogen cyanide spike through the roof at fire sometimes, taking in that smoke. So why does that smoke ignite? Well, it has to do with the ignition temperature. What is ignition temperature? The lowest temperature of fuel will give off gas in an ignitable mixture. So basically, the lowest temperature something will ignite, okay? Fire point, the lowest temperature of fuel will give off gas and ignite and will continue to burn without an ignition source. So you hit a fire point, nice hot day. Something that's really funny chemical, you talk about acetylene. Acetylene has a huge range of flammability. And so that's why you get in a lot of trouble with a gas like that. It can light at a real low temperature or at a real high temperature, huge range. So when something reaches its ignition temperature, it can ignite with a fuel source, okay? Fire points will ignite without any external ignition. Okay, flammable range, explosive range. Just came up the other night when we did this show on Tuesday night. You see LFL, UFL. You may also see LEL, UEL. They're used interchangeably. It's very common. They're talking about the range at which something will burn, okay? Explosive range or flammable range is the range of concentration in a fuel that the vapor intermix together and will ignite, okay? The lower level is the range will start to light. It just starts to light at that lower level. If you get past the lower level, even lower than that, it won't sustain combustion. The UFL is the high end where you keep burning. You're burning between this range. You burn in between my hands. You're good. Down here, lower than this, it won't burn. Up here, higher than this, it won't burn. Too lean because it's not enough fuel there to support the combustion. Too rich, too much fuel to support the combustion. Matter? How does position or shape impact how something burns? Well, real simple. Piece of wood, laid flat, one standing vertical. You light the one in the corner, it's going to slowly burn across, okay? The fire spreads slower. The plywood standing straight up and down, fire wants to travel up. Common thing or thought is that fire doesn't burn down. It typically doesn't. The radiant heat can make things burn down or start a burn pattern lower, but typically fire wants to spread up, okay? It wants to spread out and spread up. So when that board's in that vertical position, that's the fastest way fire will spread. The other part you got to talk about is density, how dense things are packed together. If you look here, density is a measure of how tightly the molecules of a substance are packed together. That's a bale of hay or straw, whatever you want to call it. Well, one bale is bundled together. One is the same bale loosely packed. Watch what happens when we light it and how quickly fire spreads or doesn't, okay? And the heat given off and how quickly that heat's given off. Ignition, look how fast the one on the left, as I'm looking at the screen, hopefully it's the same for you. Look how quick that bell's going. A lot of fire going on, spreading quickly, okay? Then you look at the other bale, it's burning, but not as much, right? It's dense, it's all packed together. Think about lighting a single piece of paper or taking a whole newspaper, rolling it up and trying to get it to burn. It barely burns because it's so densely packed, not enough oxygen can get in and around it to support that combustion. That's exactly what's happening in this video here. Loosely packed on the left, so the density is less on the left, where the density is greater on the right. Okay. Here's an example of what we just saw, but now with a Christmas tree. Now, it's nice to see the Christmas tree because this burns really quick. What I want you to look at the chart on the left, okay, I'm sorry, the right, the white chart. It shows heat release, right? You're going to see it rise up quick and then come down. So one is the rate of release, so it's not temperature on the left, okay? It's the rate at which energy is released. On the bottom, the time frame or seconds.
Ignition!
Okay, not dense, right? It's a Christmas tree, pretty loose. Got oil in it. Christmas trees are reminds you that oil, so you got an added fuel over there. If you dry, so that's filling up. Look how fast that tree is releasing all that energy, breaking down. It's going through the much give out gas, nice. Plus, it burns a quick and it starts to drop down. Tim, you had something? Sorry. Timmy, you had something?
Yeah, buddy, just make sure when you play those videos that your volume's down a little bit more. Everybody's having a hard time hearing you when you're talking over the video. So if you're going to talk, just control your volume a little bit.
Got it. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, pal.
So, as I was saying, you couldn't hear, and that the chart showed release fast.
Ignition!
Okay, released a lot of energy fast, then came down. And here's a picture, basically what happened in that chart. This picture is also good when you talked about the two bales of hay with density. The dark blue was the loosely packed bale of hay. The purple line was the densely packed bale of hay. Okay, there's no audio with this one. Look at all that smoke. We're asking, will smoke burn? When it gets the right combination of a mixture there of heat and fuel, see right here, between flags where my mouse is, you're getting little flickers of light. There it is, boom. That was fuel that ignited. That was smoke that ignited. We hit that vapor range or that flammable range, and that smoke is supporting combustion right now. So we're going to talk about the phases of fire. Why? Because we have to. Each phase of fire affects what we do on the fire ground differently. The things we should think about when we think about these phases of fires are firefighter safety and the decisions we make, citizen safety, right? To the structure and environment we're in, and smoke fever. All these are affected differently at the various stages. Here's a little picture of what happens as you go through the phases. You get the ignition phase, right? starts to grow. You get in your growth phase, okay? As we're in that growth phase right there, as we're talking about, look what happens. We're going right up to that flashover point, okay? After that, you're getting your full development. That means the fire is rocking and rolling, okay? After it flashes over all the room and contents, it starts to dry back down. We hit our decay phase. That's typical of most fires, unless we come in and we stop it. We're probably getting there at the growth phase or fully developed, and we're getting it before we allow the fire to burn all the way down to the decay phase. Now, it may happen when you pull up and everything, you got a garbage can fire. By the time you get in the scene, it's melted all the way to the ground to a pile of ash. That went through all the stages before we got there. Sources of ignition, pretty much two, piloted and non-piloted, okay? Caused by a spark, caused when a material reaches its temperature and just ignites. Ignition phase, it's the early stage of fire, all right? Which fuel and oxygen are virtually unlimited. Got a ton of it there. Heat release is increasing, okay? The fire is under or up to the ceiling, okay? Usually just starting, hitting the ceiling, it's underneath it, it's not spread throughout the whole structure. Growth phase, well, in the growth phase, oxygen supply will have a direct effect on the speed of growth and the size of the fire, okay? More oxygen we have, the more that oxygen and fuel can mix together readily, the faster the fire is going to grow, the faster rate we're going to have a growth. Fuel size and the amount will determine the size and the spread of fire. The container will also influence how the heat dissipates. Think about if you had a small like bathroom garbage can on fire in your bathroom with the door closed. That little can in that bathroom could be a lot of smoke, and you'd feel probably quite a bit of heat from that. Take that same little bathroom garbage can and then put it in a corner of a warehouse. You wouldn't probably even know what was happening, right? So the size of the container affects the growth and also the heat we're feeling. Thermal plume. Thermal plume is obvious. It's usually reaching the ceiling and moving laterally. That's that heat that's up top, right? That's that temperature that's moving around along the ceiling, along the walls. Sometimes you can see that thermal plume with a tick camera. You can see little waves of heat going across, okay? There's usually plenty of air. Detached gas phase possibly result in some rapid fire. Usually it's superheated gases up in that thermal plume as well, or up in that black smoke that we're going to talk about or see. Growth phase where the fire is rocking and rolling, right? It's kicking butt. Most hostile fire phenomenon that can kill or injure us, okay? That's a problem for us. So growth phase is where the fire's got a head of steam, it's rocking and rolling, and that's about when we're getting on a scene. If you remember that chart we had, flashover is coming up in that growth phase till we get to the full develop phase. That's about the time we are getting on the scene and we're getting set up. Go ahead, Tim.
Hey, Richie, this is where I want to just jump in like we did on Tuesday and give you a chance to get a little hydration there, my pal. And listen, guys, U of I here, IFSI, and UL Fire Safety Institute have done a lot of studies on this. So there's a lot of misinformation out on the street. If you guys learn anything today, and Richie's going to get in this in a minute, he's on the growth phase, and we're talking about most hostile fire phenomena that can kill or injure. The biggest thing that we're having problems with is guys not flowing water when they get into an IDLH hazard. You got to flow water. That pipe's got to go on. As soon as you see that black smoke, you have to cool the room, the hallway, and get down the hallway to where the fire is and get a good knock on the fire before you ventilate. It really has to be coordinated now. You really need to be thinking about flow path and having enough water. And that water can come from the tank, right? We don't need a positive source of water initially. The faster we get water on the fire, and in the rural areas as opposed to the city, you guys have bigger tanks, more tank water, and you can get done stuff much quicker than we can in the city. The city of Chicago has been flowing tank water, and Richie and I are going to do a class on this later, for over 35 years. They recognized a long time ago before UL jumped on this and everybody else that flowing water initially when you first get on the scene is a great way to control the fire. Now the science backs that information up. So jump on the UL Firefighter Safety page after Richie and I get done here today. The Illinois Fire Service Institute has been involved in a great deal of those studies. They just put a new one out today dealing with strip malls. The one on residential fire may be there. But No, Tristan, you want to open the nozzle right away. We're going to talk about black fire in a minute. It will kill you. Richie's going to talk about the point of no return and how far you can go before that fire lights off. You will die. The only weapon you carry to the fire is water. You need to use water. It's free and it's plentiful, especially in the state of Illinois. Go ahead, Rich.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to talk about flashover. Flashover is a very important thing to talk about. There's some excellent classes out there on flashover. I think one of the better classes, or what you do with a flashover simulator, is really rollover education, because rollover will lead to a flashover. As a fire builds in the room, it starts to make its way out. It grows up. It's releasing that energy. It's growing in heat and light and strength, okay? Well, it starts hitting the ceiling, and we start getting flames running across the ceiling. You'll see it come up in a video a bit. If we don't do something to control those flames rolling across the ceiling, everything else in that room is reaching its ignition temperature, something we just talked about. When it reaches its ignition temperature, it lights off like that. That's when you have your flashover. A flashover is not a survivable event unless you're a couple feet from the door, and that's what we're going to talk about. That. A flashover, a sudden full room involvement of fire. Flashover is caused by thermal radiation feedback, meaning all the heat coming off everything, and it just ignites. During a fire in a room, the heat is absorbed in the ceiling, the walls, the furniture. It's absorbed into everything. It reaches its temperature, and it ignites like right now, okay? The sign that you're going to have a flashover, one of the biggest signs, is that rollover. The problem with the rollover is, though, when you have that black smoke, you may not see the flames rolling across the ceiling. It's that black smoke that's probably your indicator of a rollover now more than anything. So what do we do with that? You actually have to open up a stream or a nozzle and cool the ceiling temperatures. In the video that comes up with flashover, it's an older video, you'll talk about a short burst of water. That was the thought process 30 years ago, maybe 40. Not today. Today, when you have that black smoke rolling across the ceiling, you have rollover happening. You want to prevent a flashover, you take a stream, a nozzle, a pipe, whatever you call it, okay, we're playing semantics here, and you flow water as you advance your line down. You have to be able to flow water and advance the charged hose line. If you have to shut the hose line off to advance, you need to practice a little more because it's killing your efforts, okay? You have to flow water on a solid stream or a straight stream, not a fog. We don't want to disrupt the layering. We want to cool the temperature at the ceiling. We want to drive that fire back, cool the ceiling going across all the way, cool the ceiling temperature, and stop everything from reaching its ignition temperature, okay? Flashover training allows firefighters to recognize sign of a flashover, more importantly, even a rollover. Provides firefighters with techniques to possibly give them time to escape, to save firefighters from injury or death, right? The whole goal of that. Warning signs of a flashover. Free burning, okay? Flame production with heat and materials. Basically, things are lighting off everywhere. You're seeing flame intensity increase, heat's intensity increasing. Right there, the next thing is heat buildup. Very hot, very hot. You're starting to push yourself down to the floor. Well, that's a sign that a flashover is imminent or going to be happening. Something I just talked about, thick black smoke. We talked about thick black smoke already. That black smoke that may be your rollover that you are missing. You may be able to see it in a tick camera. You probably could. All right, tick camera, battery ticks a crap on you. Now what? I'm in a volunteer department. We don't have tick cameras. How can we get that temperature? How can we see how hot that smoke is above you? Run a pike pole up into the smoke, okay? Feel the end of that pike pole, the tip. If it's that hot and you really feel it through your glove, okay, or you can feel the heat radiating off it, that's how hot that black smoke is. You have a hand pump or a pressurized water extinguisher. Throw that up in the air and start splitting some water, let some water rain down on you. If that water is raining down on you really, really hot, that is telling you have superheated gas above your head and a flashover is going to be next, okay? Rollover, we've talked about a ton here. Rollover is an indicator that a flashover is going to be happening. not pick the music. Don't kill me for the music. So there's a little rollover going on, right? Flames rolling across the ceiling. That's not a flashover. That's rollover you're seeing. Okay, they're going in, looking for a fire. See it rolling out of the room? If there's an overhang or like a header, it hits that and it's got to bump down again to come out. And that's what's happening there. If I'm out in the hallway and you got a header above your door, think of your bedroom. The bedroom's in your house. The door doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling, right? There's a little return there above your head. So now the flame's got to run across the ceiling, hit that bump out and come down. Cool the ceiling, okay? Talked about that ton. That is very important. Survival techniques, recognize the warning signs of heat and rollover, okay? We already talked about how we can prevent that from happening. By cooling the ceiling, I'm reducing the temperature. By cooling the ceiling, I'm also stopping that rollover from happening. Try to avoid getting disoriented. Use proper search techniques. Well, what they're saying there is be oriented. Always know your exit. Always know your way out. Don't cut yourself off. Something we didn't talk about. If I don't stop that rollover from happening, what could happen is a fire can roll across the ceiling in that black smoke. I never see it. Then it lights up behind me. Now what? Okay, that's why I also don't want him. Now I'm cutting my means of escape out. Ideally, leave and enter the same door. Why? If things go bad quickly, and they do, I know that way is the exit. I know which way I go, and that's the quickest way out.
Hey guys, Richie, can I jump in here for a minute?
Yeah, jump in, brother.
Hey guys, there's been some questions on penciling, and I've answered most all of them already. Richie talked about it a little bit. So you guys got to stop penciling. It will kill you, all right? I can't put it any other way to let you know that you will die. There's no way you're getting out of a life safety situation if you are penciling. You will die. You have to be able to flow water and move, like Richie said earlier. You have to be able to flow water at the door. Penciling is turning on the pipe and shutting off the pipe. Once you cross the threshold into the IDLH environment and you have heat and smoke conditions, turn that pipe on and leave that pipe on until you get to the seat of the fire. And then don't ventilate. That attack has to be coordinated until you have water on the seat of the fire. We cannot stress this any more than what Richie and I are talking about today. This was studied by real research scientists that went to school and took math, not like Richie and I, right? And
no.
Determined through these studies, they even used pigskin to determine what the temperatures would be in different parts of the room. You can go to the UL Fire Safety webpage and see where IFSI has been involved in these studies. Leave the pipe on. If you learn anything today, anything that Richie and I are talking about, leave the pipe on. Go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry, buddy.
No problem. Okay. Point of no return. This is an important one. Without a hose line, a firefighter can travel on average about 2.5 feet per second. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less than full protective clothing. Think about some of these residential homes that you go in with stuff everywhere. Come to my house, you'll see stuff everywhere, trust me. Especially if you go in my daughter's rooms, all right? Well, how quick do you crawl in that environment, okay? A firefighter has approximately 2 seconds to exit when a flashover occurs. Why do we say that? If you crawl 2.5 feet every second, if you're less than 5 feet from the doorway, okay, 5 feet, you may not make it out of there if a flashover happens. But I don't have to be in a flashover environment. Remember that. I can change that environment and I can do something about it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. All right. So heavily stained or cracked glass, okay? With new windows, we'll talk about new windows. We're getting a little bit of building construction. With the newer windows, these double hung windows, that 2 layers of glass, the 2 panes of glass, that's your insulation. That's your barrier so heat won't, or cold won't transfer through, all right? Well, the older windows in your older homes had your triple track storms on the outside, metal storms, okay? And then you had your wooden sashes with a single pane of glass. Well, the glass used to break. You used to be able to see that fire. Not today. With double pane glass, it masks a lot of that stuff. Yellow or orange flames seen overhead. Doors and windows being forced open caused by a rush of air, okay? And the high velocity of smoke exiting the building. A sudden change in color, smoke, it gets really dark, okay? That's indicator. We're gonna talk about smoke later, about pressurized smoke, velocity, volume. Those are also some keys, and we'll show that in a later video, okay? Sudden changes in heat. If that environment you're in, the room you're in, the building, the structure, that heat changes that quick, it's not getting better and you're flowing water, something's happening. It's not a good place for us right now. We have to change something because we're not changing the environment. These are the things that can happen next, a flashover. Okay, make sure that's right. Okay, this is the Detroit bailout. I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss nothing there. Okay, here's we call it a Detroit bailout. It's an older video, but it's a great video to watch for the smoke that's going on. I am not here to critique anyone's actions on the fire round. God forbid if someone ever critiqued what things I've done. It's easy to Monday quarterback. What I want you to get from this video is watching the smoke conditions and what's going on. See what you can see happening, okay? Uh-oh, it ain't playing. That's weird. Okay. We may have to change something. I don't know why this video. Low for volume. Okay. Look at this smoke you're seeing. We have a large volume of fire up in that attic. We talk about heat buildup. There is a tremendous amount of heat being built up right now in this attic. A tremendous amount of heat. Okay, we're taking those windows, giving it more oxygen, right? If we give it more air, it's going to definitely change the environment. Smoke pushing out from cracks like this, right? Right here, low in the eaves, the gutter line there. See how that smoke's kind of brown, almost gray? It would be black as can be, but it's getting filtered as it's getting pushed through those eaves. Okay, we're not criticizing any tactics. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened in this environment, but look at this smoke. A lot of heat. If you were up in this environment, I'm telling you, flashover is going to happen real quickly if you don't do something like that. And I guarantee you that smoke is hot as can be to the touch.
Hey, Chief! Man, you got no stairway.
Now, you know, some of them here, look at the tanks around, right? But look at that smoke. Like, I hate to say it, it's beautiful. You can learn a lot. That is an uncontrolled fire burning, a deep-seated fire that is burning, a lot of pressure, a lot of volume. Look at that. Just from being away, it flashed. There's your flashover that happened. That black smoke that was pumping out of that room is now gone, and we now have visible fire. Okay? Great. We're going to change the environment. We had a little bit of water, okay? As we had a little bit of water there into that, and now we're going to go in. Remember, it could flash again because that smoke is fuel. That smoke can light up again as well. All right. See as he's getting ready to go in? See how the smoke's coming out high in the window? See how it's twirling right here in the middle window? It's turbulent. It's got a little speed. It's twisting like a twister. Okay? But where he's going in, I bet money cool air is rushing in through there. That's why you see it moving right where he's going in. Smoke's coming out high, air is rushing in low. Guarantee you that room is about 1,100 degrees maybe at the ceiling level where that smoke is. At least 1,000, if not more. It's hot. Look at all that smoke coming down in heat. Just for food for thought. You got three windows there, right? In between those windows is usually what you call the mullion. If you had to make entry into a building like that, if this was your plan, there was a reason, take those center mullions out. So now that window is 6 feet wide instead of 3 windows that are 2 feet wide, if that makes sense. Look at that. That is hot. See him smoking? See his gear? That's how hot that smoke is. Just want to give you a chance to see that. Excellent video when you're looking at smoke conditions. Okay. Here, just talk about temperature. Yes, sir.
I'm going to jump in here for a minute. So your volume just needs to go down just a little bit more on the videos, just a couple clicks more if you want to do that. If you want to come up. And then I had to go to the little boys' room, so I don't know if Richie said it. Any of the videos that we're using, guys, we're not trying to rain down on anybody. We're not trying to bring embarrassment to any department. Listen, we have to get over that, right? Everybody in the fire service makes mistakes, Richie and I included. Anybody that tells you that they don't, they're a liar. So we have to learn from our mistakes, right? And how do we do it? We train. We want to make our mistakes in training, like a good instructor friend of mine, Richie's Tommy McMiniman from the Milwaukee Fire Department always says. Try to make our mistakes on the training ground and in training so that we don't make them on the
All right,
down the
buddy. You're
volume.
right.
A little more. Volume a little bit more, buddy, and then let me know when you're ready to go, and I'll shut my pie hole. So everybody,
Okay.
get your own bathroom break. Good, Richie. It's all yours now.
Okay. All right, go back then and start. Okay, how's that volume with me talking, Tim?
Good. That's good right there, pal.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So this is a video of ventilation. We're not talking about ventilation, but I just want you to see what's going on with the smoke and how conditions change. I may speed up a little bit to get to the fire scene. There we go.
Cited. We've got a well-involved structure fire here. It's in the smoldering phase. Looks like it's up in the attic. We got no visible flame. We got that dark, ugly smoke. Let's have engine 221 come on in, bring your own supply line in. I'll have you finish up the 360. We do have an exposure to the Charlie Delta side, and I'm kind of worried about that.
Okay, so it's giving directions, sides of the building. Companies aren't even on the scene yet.
Rake, truck one, when you guys come on in, Matt, let's get this thing fully laddered and give me a good viewpoint. We definitely need vertical ventilation at this point if we're going to get in there. Copy, 230 stage. All units from Sierra Way Command. We got an electrical problem again. The entire drop is being involved. 221, did you copy that? Engine 221?
All right, see that smoke coming out?
221 copies. 221 copies. 221
Okay, that smoke coming out the top there, under pressure, okay, pushing on a little bit. He said they definitely need vertical ventilation. So that's a lot of fire up above. That's one of those buildings when you got to get in and you got to start pulling some ceiling and flowing some water above your head. That means that may happen in the doorway. Did you just see a little bit of flame come out of that peak right there? You saw a little bit of flame coming out. There it is again, a little hint of flame. Boom. Speed up a little bit. Okay, they're getting ready to go up on the roof. Let's see what conditions change when they get up there. Okay, cutting a hole, they're sounding the roof, making sure it's sound before they cut. You see a little visible fire in the back. Invisible fire coming out of that peak, right out of the end of the roof there. That's that smoke that's lighting off. I'm not going to get into should they be on the roof while they're up there. Remember, we're not criticizing that. I want you to see the ventilation that's going on. See that smoke igniting? Will smoke burn? You're seeing an example of it happening right now. The smoke caught up underneath the overhang of the porch. That's lighting off. Smoke coming out of the building is lighting off, then disappearing.
Hey, everybody. While Richie's taking another swig of water here, Richie's going to get into this in a minute, but some things you want to be looking at. This is a great video from the West Coast, right? You should be looking at volume, velocity, density, and color of the smoke that Richie's talking about. And he's going to get into that more in depth here in a little minute. Volume, how much smoke is coming out of the building, density, how thick it is, velocity, how fast it's pushing out of the structure, and then the color of the smoke, what's involved in the burning properties. So this is very important when you go into a building or before you go in. Everybody should be conducting a size up, chief officer, company officer, and the individual firefighter. You're the one going into the IDLH hazard. You have to be able to size up buildings on your own as well, and fire conditions.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. So now they got the roof vented, okay? It's coming out of there. Less is coming out of that gable end. Everything's coming out their vent hole. Conditions are changing around a little bit. Granted, they still got a lot of fire, so I'm not going to debate that. But when they get that vent hole open, you see a lot more come out the vent hole instead of pushing laterally through everywhere else. Probably made our conditions inside underneath us, or I should say above us as we go in, a little bit better, maybe for us to find the fire, to find victims and do a search. Okay. Okay, we were still talking about the growth and phases of fire. We're on the full develop phase. Okay, those are all things when fires are developed. If you saw that fire, that was in full growth probably, okay? Well, now, that was the growth phase. Now we're in full develop. This is where a building's consumed by fire. There's fire all over the place. It is fully involved, okay? Plenty of air, nothing to stop it. Decay stage, well, you ever go to a fire or a call where they think they had a fire in the house to get there, things are smolder, it's black, it's sooty, but there's nothing going on anymore. It snuffed itself out. We had a call once when I was on engine 63 for a reported fire. We get there, pop the front door, people weren't home. They came home, they actually opened the door themselves, so I take that back. We didn't pop the door. We opened the door, homeowner was home. Well, when they opened the door and they got home, everything was burned. They thought someone torched their house on them. Well, something caused a fire, started, but it was so well sealed, all the windows were locked and everything. It started a fire and smothered itself out. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a second. This is a fire that happened in Chicago. This is a coach house. Typically, a coach house is a small house in the back of the yard or the back of the lot. A typical city lot in Chicago is 50 by 150, okay? And in the back, a lot of times there are alleys that separate the house on one side of the block to the house on the opposite side of the block, okay? So this is all the way in the back of the property, right along the alley usually, okay? And the main house is in front. This house is a smaller house in back. It has a walk-in basement. You walk right into the basement on a, I believe it was a dirt ground floor basement, if I remember correct, Tim, when we went and looked at it. Now this building's all boarded up. They have plywood all over the front door. I don't know if you can see my mouse. You guys see my cursor moving my finger, Tim?
Yeah,
okay.
I see everything.
Okay, so right here, it's all boarded up. You're gonna have a couple members on this porch trying to make entry to get in. Limited, delayed entry due to forcible entry problems. Something to consider. We're not getting in right away, so we're delayed getting in. Maybe we get in sooner. Maybe this doesn't happen. Maybe we change it. Maybe we change the environment by adding too much air. You're also going to see a firefighter go up a ladder. It's going to be thrown over to the side here. He's going to take an upper window, like the little attic area, okay? Doesn't take the window fully, just a small little bit of it, and then comes down. And then you'll see what we're talking about. And I'm not going to say what it is. You'll see what it is that it happens. I just want you to see it, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, Richie, I'll talk after you do the video.
Okay, I'm going to turn the volume up. If there's any swearing in the video, I'll apologize now. It's taken from a neighbor, but I want you to hear a distinct sound when this event happens, and you'll see what that event is. Okay. This building may be 25 by 25. You agree that, Tim, was a small structure, correct?
Yeah, it was a small coach house in the rear of a building. Yep, so a 2.5-story frame coach house, balloon constructed.
Okay, look at the smoke we got coming here, okay? Hard to see through the window and the branches, I give you that. So that looks like a glass block window there with a vent on it. It's pushing out of those little window vents on the glass block. There's a lot of force going on here. A lot of pressure build up. I'm gonna speed it up a little. We're getting the ladder in the back. You can see what's going on here. Okay, you hear that pounding? It's that guy there in the ground level. Walk into the basement, walk into the ground. He's forcing that door. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, I don't believe there was a stairway from the first floor to the basement. It was completely separate, I believe. I don't remember an interior stair.
Yeah, it was almost like an apartment setup where you had one apartment on the ground floor and then a 1.5-story frame of one separate apartment.
Okay, throwing up the ladder, get them some ventilation. Okay. Now, why they didn't vertically ventilate, why they didn't cut a hole in the roof, I don't know. We'll talk about that when this video is done. If that would have been a different option, or what options would have changed as far as conditions would have happened or would have been different. Look at that smoke coming out that attic window. He just took a little hole. Oh, you see a puff of smoke? All right, I'm gonna get loud there. Okay. Okay. There's some adjectives we don't want to hear there. But did you hear that whistling sound? Okay. Force of air. Now these guys were on the porch. Squad 5 was up there in 123, I believe. They got blown, physically blown off the porch. That was what you would call, that was a smoke explosion. Okay, we always talk about backdraft. That was an example of a smoke explosion. I'm now going to turn over to Tim to talk about this topic.
So I was a chief officer then. I investigated this fire after it occurred. I got there pretty much right after this happened. And guys were just beat up. No thermal injury or burns. The smoke explosion caused some issues with hearing and seeing and knocked them all down. You can see everybody's kind of discombobulated there on the scene. Nobody was injured poorly, but in Chicago, and there were some questions that came up earlier, we do a lot of vertical venting on our job, and that vertical vent has to be coordinated with fire attack as we've been directed by UL now. So what happened here, like Richie was talking about, was a smoke explosion. That guy went up on the on that ladder, that 20-foot straight frame there, and vented that attic window. He didn't vent it fully, and there was a flow path created from the front door where crews were entering to make a primary search, and it hit that window, and it let enough oxygen in to cause a smoke explosion. So that fire had been pent up for quite a while and sitting in that attic, and that's what caused those problems. Questions on that, guys? You can go ahead and type them in, and I'll answer them orally. I think Richie's using right now. There he is. No, they had heavy smoke conditions and high heat, but no visible flame, right? So we talked about that earlier before. That was Tom Stegiga. Did I say it right, Tom? I'm sorry. Question. So flowing water, and we determined that we weren't flowing water here because we were looking for the fire. Yeah, we probably should have waited for the line a little bit. It's easy to second guess everybody, be a Monday morning quarterback. These guys are my friends. I went to fires with them quite a bit, but maybe ventilating the roof would have stopped that as we've talked about. So, but those
and they couldn't flow water because they weren't in yet.
Correct. We're going to get into the differences between a smoke explosion and a backdraft in a little while here, Joshua. I'm going to let Richie take the con again. Captain Stack, you have the con.
Captain. Whoa. Lieutenant, don't promote me yet. I got to earn it. All right. So that was an example of a smoke explosion. We'll show some backdrafts later, just you'll see the difference. Ultimately, the difference is this. No visible flame. Okay. All right. This here is a video, just a fire starting. How quickly things can go and spread. Christmas tree rolling across the ceiling. There's your rollover, right? If I don't do something about that rollover, what's the next thing that's going to happen? Look how quick the smoke conditions change. Look at that black smoke over by the lantern. You're going to see it pulsing up and down a little bit, the smoke. Okay? See the couch to the left? How it's like, it was almost, you saw like light smoke on? That was breaking down through paralysis. There goes the lampshade. Boom. All of a sudden, the full room involvement. There you go. Why do we show that? Speed of fire. A slow developing fire doubles in size about every 120 seconds. This is not an exact science here, guys. We're giving you a rough idea, estimation. Medium developing fire doubles in size every 60 seconds. Fast developing fire doubles in size every 30. Ultra fast every 15. Okay. I don't know how you can pull on the scene and tell me it's ultra fast developing or not, but just think, if fire is developing quickly or rapidly, it's increasing the amount of heat, the amount of smoke that you're going to be encountering. The sooner I can get water on that fire, the better outcome it's going to be. Fire loading, okay? Fires fought in the 1970s were reaching about 1,500 degrees in 15 minutes, okay? Much different now. Today, you're reaching about 2,000 degrees in 3 minutes. A large non-compartmentalized area can double in size about every 15 seconds. Basically, if it's not compartmentalized, nothing to break rooms off, okay, an open area. Think about a fire in a building that has cubicles. You have an unlimited amount of fuel load, but unlimited amount of fire spread. That fire can hit the ceiling and run across. It'll increase greatly. Some fires we've had here in the city have been some issues. Have been LaSalle Bank, right? LaSalle Bank fire, right? Open floor plan. Fire was able to spread along the ceiling rather quickly. Compartmentalization is a friend of ours when it comes to fires. Fire will develop so fast that it will be beyond the control and capability of a single 150 GPM line within 15 seconds of entry. That's how fast it can change. We should be at least spraying 150 gallons per minute or more to fight our firefights. Tim usually had something to mention on this one last time.
Yeah, so this part that Richie's going into now, guys, this part of the class is hugely important about what you're doing and how you lead out. Most residential fires, as determined by UL Firefighter Safety and NFPA, can be put out with about 500 gallons. Think about that. 500 gallons of water if you get to it quickly, and that includes mop-up, okay? So the proper line let out, it has to be minimally 150 gallons according to NFPA. Most fire departments are flowing about 170 to make up for kinks in the line and or any issues with the amount of hose that they have on those pre-connects. But if you have more than 3 rooms of fire in a single family residential building, you should be thinking 2.5. If you don't have interior walls in a single family residential building, you have a wide open floor space, which Rich you'll get to in a minute, you should be thinking 2.5. We get very complacent with our lead outs, and we lead out 1 3/4 inches most of the time. And sometimes it's not enough to give a good punch to that fire and get it under control. So you need to lead out the bigger line. You need to be cognizant on how to do that. If you're on an engine company, you should be able to lead out every line dry to the seat of the fire and then charge water before you go into the IDLH system, okay? So a good engine person who broke me on the job a long time ago said it to me, not so politely, but said it to me similar to that. And if you want to be a really good student of the game, a good firefighter for the rest of your career, you need to be able to lead out every line on that engine by yourself. Water is key to your success and your survival.
Okay, effects on today's fire. The size of the fire load, the type of the load, size and location of vent opening, size of the door, direction and force of exterior wind and direction, okay? Those all affect today's fires. I don't know if we see, let's just play one. We don't need both of these videos.
A carelessly discarded cigarette is the cause of this fire, but home fires can start many ways. Space heaters, wood stoves, faulty electrical equipment, and cooking, among others. In most fires, there is a longer period of time from the appearance of smoke to actual flames. Remember, what you will see and hear was filmed as it actually happened. 30 seconds from first flame, the sofa ignites. From this point, fire grows rapidly. If you discover a fire, leave immediately and call the fire department from a neighbor's house.
I'm probably going to stop this soon because we're going to show a video of modern contents in a room and compare to legacy. This couch is an older couch. This fire would spread much quicker in today's environment, okay? There we go. So, go ahead.
One thing, buddy, before you go on building construction, okay? Richie's going to talk about the different types of buildings here, and we could do 4 hours on building construction. We're giving you a brief overview of how construction plays a role in fire behavior, contents of the building, right? How the building is constructed, how much smoke can the building hold. Richie's going to go over all that. And then something that we want you to clue in here on as well, with newer construction, PGIs and open floor plans, if you're not sure of the construction of the building when you first enter the front door, get a couple of hand tools and get an inspection hole. There's a lot of buildings out there now, older construction that's been around for over 100 years. Those buildings are being rehabbed. Use that tick camera. If you don't see bearing walls in the middle of the building holding up the roof structure, you probably have new construction and you want a 2.5, okay? That 1 3/4 is not gonna get it done because of the size of the space. Like Richie talked about before, it's not compartmentalized and you need to get ahead of it. Error on the side of more water, not less water. Go ahead there, my friend.
Got it. Okay. Why is building construction important? Well, most importantly, it can tell us where people are, where the fire may be, and where our hazards may be. And those hazards are different in the different types of buildings we're going in. Each building construction had its own uniqueness as far as how fire will spread and how the fire will affect our actions on the fire ground at each different construction type. Okay. Fire behavior and building construction, what's burning? How will they influence each other? Okay. What do we do when we encounter different buildings under fire? Okay. And how do we choose the appropriate tactic? That's the things we got to consider when you're talking about fire behavior and how it relates to building construction. Okay. Do you have any questions prior to making entry? How many of those questions actually pertain to the building itself or about the building and not strictly just the fire? What kind of construction? What kind of entry points I have? What's the building used for? What's its occupancy? Is it just a warehouse and at nighttime if there's a fire and the only one in there maybe is a janitor? Or is it a school and it's during the day? Okay. Things to consider as we go to different buildings. Building construction knowledge tips, things I'm considering. Occupancy type, what the building is used for. Is it used for what it's rated? Sometimes we have buildings that aren't rated for the occupancy it's using, okay? And has anyone checked that out? Entanglement hazard, where can I get hurt? You go to a warehouse, loading docks, pits, things like that. What's the floor layout? You get a fire at a supermarket or a strip mall. I don't know the layout necessarily. How about when you go to a high-rise building, multiple floors? Sometimes you can grab a placard off the wall by the elevator and get at least the layout and look at that. I don't always have that. Fire load we talked about. Fire behavior and extension possibilities. We talk about extension. We talk about exposures. There's interior exposures and exterior exposures, right? If you think about it. If I got a room and contents fire in my house, what's the exposure? The attic, the neighboring rooms. What's the exterior exposure? What's around it and sides A, B, C, and D. Okay, type 1, typically you're going to be your high-rise type of structure. Protected structural elements is the big thing you want to get out of that. Okay, and is the most fire-resistive category. Fire 2, non-combustibles. Building materials that will not directly contribute to the development of any fire or flame spread. Few fire-resistive qualities and is susceptible to early failure. Get to the bottom line there. Unprotected steel will expand as it is heated and begin to lose strength anywhere from 1,100 to 1,500 degrees. I believe the saying is 1 foot of steel can expand 1 inch when it's heated. So now, if you get a long piece of steel, bar joist truss, when you go to strip malls are typically your non-combustible buildings. Okay, usually some type of drop ceiling. Up in that open void space above you is probably where your bar joist trusses will be. Unless you can pop a ceiling tile and see it's conventional lumber, that changes things a bit. But open void space, those bar joists expand under fire conditions, definitely be a problem for us. Type 3, ordinary. combination of combustible and non-combustible features. Pretty much everyday Main Street, downtown USA, in your towns. It could be a one-story building. It could be a taxpayer, business down below, residential up above. Nice thing about ordinary constructed buildings, some of the older ones, they had lath and plaster walls instead of drywall. You have quite a bit of time to play at an ordinary constructed building before you're worried about a collapse or before you're worried about fire spread through. Those walls take a tremendous amount of heat and they can withstand quite a bit of work. Type 4, heavy timber, okay? Large lumber, large pieces of lumber, 6x6s and greater, okay? Tremendous amount of fuel load in these buildings. It takes a while for a fire to get going on those structural members, but once it does, A, unlimited travel or fire spread, B, tremendous amount of heat load or fuel load and heat given off once those members start getting involved in fire, start taking off. Type 5, wood frame. We're going to talk about two types here in type 5, platform and balloon frame. Okay. The balloon frame has its own inherent danger or problems that we have to deal with. Okay. And we're going to show the next picture, but when you look at the picture of the balloon frame, see how the windows all line up right in line of each other from the first floor and second floor? That shows you an indicator possibly of a balloon frame constructed building. The other thing you're going to look for is you see smoke coming out the chimney. Okay. It tells you a couple of things. Possibly a basement fire, 100%, right? Fire in the basement, or you see smoke coming up high, it could be traveling up these stud bays right here, and I'm going to show you that in the next slide. The other thing with this platform construction home on the left, I would bet my life that's a lightweight constructed home. That has trusses in the roof, that has TGIs or micro lambs in it. Micro lambs are glued together pieces of wood. TGI is like a 2x2 and a 2x2 with particle board, pressed particle board in the center that's glued together. Here's just showing you floor roofing, second floor, first floor. The platform, they build a whole platform and then put the next wall on top of it. There's no open breaks going from floor 1 to 2. The balloon frame, that stud goes from the foundation all the way up to the roof. Here's a better example of it. The picture on the left, the platform, they built a complete platform and then put these studs on top, stand up the walls and build the next section. And balloon frame, the rafters, the floor joists, I should say, are nailed to the side of your studs going up from the foundation all the way to the attic. You also have a ledger board going across that's nailed on the face of the studs. That's how those floors are made, okay? So there's an open void or channel. If the fire starts in the basement, it can run all the way up here, all the way up into the attic, across the roof rafters, down the other side of the roof rafters, and come down the other side of the building. Okay, the introduction of synthetic and engineered building structures has changed buildings that we go to and how we fight fires in them. Residential structure fires are declining, but we're still having the same amount of injuries or fatalities in them. Residential structure fires are only about 25% of all fires in the U.S., 83% of the death fires, 77% of the firefighter injuries, and 64% of dollar loss. Residential fires account for more fire fatalities than any other year. So single-family dwellings are the most common fires we go to, and still where we get people hurt the most often. Growing trend. This was back in 2005 when there was a huge growing boom, a huge boom in the economy as far as building construction, renovations, second floor additions, remodeling, okay? When you look at this, in 1950, the average house size was about 1,000 square feet, roughly. I know it says 893 here. It was about 1,000 square feet, okay? In 2005, the average roof size went to 2,500 square feet. Huge difference, okay? The other difference that happened here too is called the fuel load, okay? The fuel load was drastically different between the two. Why bigger homes? Why bigger houses? Keeping up with the Joneses. Hey, that's one. The other one was engineered building system. These TGIs, these trusses, allowed you to have open floor plans, larger space and bigger homes. They're strong. They are without a doubt strong. They're engineered to be strong. Problem is they're not strong under fire conditions. Also, another benefit is it's cheaper for the contractor, okay? Less lumber being used. What has changed in the interior? Okay, open floor plan. You got rid of some of those load-bearing walls inside the structure because everything's carried out on the exterior walls more than anything because the trusses are spanning from end to end in the building. Nice thing about your traditional homes, you had natural fire stops in there. If you think about it, when it's compartmentalized, you have fire stops per se compared to an open floor plan.
Hey, Rich, we got one question.
Sure.
So, sorry, buddy. Let's talk about metal wall studs, which really don't change. Most metal wall studs really, they don't burn, obviously, but they're usually tied to newer lightweight construction. So back in the beginning of the day, Richie talked about mass, right? So legacy construction, old 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x10s, those pieces of wood were mass dense, a lot of wood in there. The new stuff that they're building with is made of particle board and glue. It's lightweight. That's why they call it lightweight construction. No mass, no density to it. That's why as soon as the drywall fails or there's holes in the drywall because somebody put in a speaker system or cable or something else like that, once fire impinges on those new systems, it fails very quickly. And Richie's got a really great video coming up with that. So the tick camera and that inspection hole inside the front door, seeing what's above you and below you and seeing how fire conditions are and how hot it's burning and whether or not it's into the structural members based upon that tick camera sweep will give you a good indication as to where you need to go and how you need to fight that fire.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. Larger homes increase the risk that a firefighter will become disoriented or trapped inside. Why? You don't have any reference points. It's like going to a warehouse. You go in a big open warehouse, it's easy to get lost and disoriented, okay? You go in a house that's compartmentalized, bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, kind of gives you a little more familiarity, can't even say the word. There you go, of where you're at. Additional fuel loads in these larger homes, right? The larger floor plans, bigger homes, more fuel load, okay? Produce more heat, fire spreads faster, produces more smoke. Fire load is estimated to be 2 times greater than it was in the 1940s and even 50s. Here's an example for you. 1950s, 8,000 BTU per pound of material burning in your home. Today, 16,000 BTU. Why? Back then, your furniture is made with wool, cotton, wood. Today, furniture are made with plastic, foam, leather with oil-based petroleum epoxy in it. Maybe your countertop. Everything in your home now has some type of petroleum-based product or close to it. And it's not the same makeup of material, natural material that was used 50, 60, 70 years ago. Fire's pipe, copper pipe, iron sewer pipe, well, they've been replaced with PVC. That heats up, that burns, it also gives off a gas, okay? Ductwork, tin ductwork used to be ductwork. Square tin, rotto tin, they're using flexible ductwork. It's flexible, it's wrapped with plastic or then metal, then it's got the corrugated wire going around wrapped in it. You pull through the ceiling, you pull that stuff down, now you have entanglement hazards. Black pipe, okay, for your gas, they are now using flexible pipe like that may be on the back of your stove, unless you have an electric stove. You have that flexible yellow hose. It should be yellow, so it indicates it's a gas line. They are now putting a gas manifold in multi-story homes or these large homes that is then distributed from this manifold throughout the house. So here's a manifold block. One runs to the gas fireplace in the first, one runs to the gas fireplace all the way on the second floor, one to the dryer, one to the stove. So you can have gas lines running throughout your home, and you could hit it, they can break, they can bend, something can change in a fire. It's no longer that black iron pipe that's through. Changing fire load we face today, increased BTUs are resulting in faster spreading fire, okay? Without a doubt. Faster moving fire requires GPM to overcome BTUs. The sooner I can get water in the fire, the more bullets I can bring to the fight, the better off I am. Here's a video I wanted to get to. This is the modern versus legacy. The video on the left, and I'm going to let this play out because this is a great video. The video on the left, legacy, that was when your grandparents were kids. Modern is today.
Thanks for not saying me.
What's that?
Thanks for not saying me.
I didn't want to say how old you are, Tim. With this one here, fire's lit in the same spot, similar things, couch, coffee table, lights, and with a lampshade. And let's see what happens as this fire lays out. Some of you may have seen this video. It's from Unrelated Laboratories. If not, you can go to their site. Great informational videos out there. And let's see what happens here. Okay, we're about a minute in. Legacy shows a little visible flame, right? Flame, not even any smoke coming up. Look at the Modern. I'm seeing some smoke. I don't see any visible flame yet. Do you? Oh, saw a flicker. There we go. All right, well, man, the Legacy's starting to go there a bit, huh? Well, it just burned that little spot. Look at the Modern all of a sudden. We talk about speed. We talk about doubling in size and how quickly. We're a minute 22 in. We got the fires increasing, smoke getting produced, pushing along the ceiling. Compared to the Legacy, just a little fire going. Okay, minute 45. We got some layering of smoke in the Modern. Smoke's starting to come down. That smoke's getting hot, hitting against the ceiling temperature. Probably gonna have some type of rollover happening in that room right now. If I don't do something about the rollover, what's my next issue and concern? Flashover. So in the Modern room right now, I should be directing a stream up at the ceiling, cooling the whole ceiling as I drive my way in to the seat of this fire and then put out the fire. Look at the Legacy. It's still just smoldering that little bit. It really hasn't taken off yet. Clean burning over there. We're at 2:30. Think about your response time. Think about your department. Think about where you work, your environment. When I was a volunteer with my father, who's one of my biggest heroes and role models in life, by the time we got the call on our pager, got in the car, drove to the firehouse, got in the scene, our response time could have been anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes to on the scene because of how we got the call. Call came in. Dispatched out, drove to the firehouse, got the rigs. Now, it depends. The chief may respond from his house. He was there real quickly. Not saying the first person was on the scene, but until we got on the scene, stretched the line, and we're ready to actually go to work, compared to maybe sitting at the station, alarm comes on, we're getting there about 3 to 8 minute range, maybe 5 to 8 minutes to be more realistic, is when you're actually maybe getting on the scene. Well, look at the Modern now. It just flashed. Look at the Legacy. Talk about flashover. Look at that fire in the Modern video. We talk about flashover being not a survivable event. At what temperature does your face piece fail? Much higher than what's in that, much lower than what's in that room right now. 300 degrees.
Yep, 350.
So
this
there's
is not
350.
Sorry, Richie. This is not a vent limited fire, right? So this building is wide open, this Underwriter Laboratories video, right? Think about what you're doing now. You're going to a fire that's probably vent limited in a Modern room, right? So it has double pane windows, what Richie's going to talk about in a minute. So it's holding all that heat inside. And what's it looking for? It's looking for oxygen. So as soon as you open that front door, you create a flow path. As soon as you don't flow water, conditions start to get worse to the point where it's going to flash. So it's very important to be cognizant of the way fires burn. That's why fire behavior is such an important topic, even for someone with more than 30 years on the job, because it's changed substantially over the last few years based upon science and what we know now. Go ahead, buddy.
Time to flash over. 3:40 on the Modern. We're at 15 minutes on the Legacy. 20 minutes. Okay? That's yesterday's firefight, today's firefight. Invisible flame now. Now that room's starting to go. Look how long you had for that incipient phase to get to the growth phase to fully developed. Drastic time frame difference. Okay? Not only have the inside of buildings changed, the outside's changed as well. Okay? And in 2005, 64% of the homes built in the Midwest had vinyl siding on it. Vinyl siding. You ever see a building on fire with vinyl? It usually catches a neighbor's houses on fire just for that radiant heat. Okay, there's no fire rating in vinyl siding. Used to be aluminum siding, that's drastically changed. Okay, the exterior soffits, right? Older homes compared to now, well, the ends were what they called bird blocking. They were blocking inside the roof rafters, were almost natural fire stops. A lot of that has gone away as they put roof trusses up on the roof. They put trusses up on the roof, open up sections. Things aren't boxed off and closed off as they used to be before. There's no natural fire break or barrier that was in there. Let's see, we kind of talk about that. Fire bending out windows or fire on the exterior can quickly move to the attic space, right? Well, that was back in the old days. Fire would vent out the windows would break. Not today. We have modern buildings with modern windows. Those windows aren't breaking. Improvement in windows have further complicated our operations. Why? I've already talked about it. They make a house more sealed up, so you can't see what's happening on the inside as much as you'd like to. The outside may give you a false sense of security. I would recommend taking a tick with you, scan the building. So I scan the building, right? Because that's what they told me to do. I scan the building, looking for heat signatures, right? Looking for that temperature. And I know we have a thermal imaging class coming up on Facebook Live. That'll be coming up, and Tim will talk about that at the end of our class here. Point being is double pane glass like I talked about. I have to heat the inner pane of glass, heat the air between the two, then heat up the exterior pane of glass to get a heat signature from inside. It's a sunny day. The exterior pane of glass is getting hit by the sun. I may think I got a tremendous flame here, I may not. So that double glass can give us a false reading because the insulation value it has. Fires can burn longer and hotter and not even be detected. That also increases the chance of a flashover backdraft because it's so sealed up. When I open it up, give it that rapid influx of oxygen. Windows aren't failing like they used to.
There is new information tonight into a recent 12 News investigation. It exposed a potentially deadly hazard in a commonly used home building material.
Now, that report showed how newer lightweight wood floor beams can quickly collapse in a house fire. But now 12 News' Kent Wainscott has discovered the problem may be even worse than anyone imagined.
Our 12 News investigation put a spotlight on a serious hazard that only some in the firefighting
TGI was
community.
the one. That's a TGI. The other one's actually conventional lumber, right, or a regular floor joist.
When Green Bay firefighter Joe Brinkley Shudware and her partner, Lieutenant Arnie Wolf, began to search this burning home in 2006, that's when she heard a crack in the floor beneath them.
So we went down to our knees and we took maybe another step when the floor gave way. That was it.
The two crashed into the basement, which quickly flashed over, trapping them in the fire.
I got to that point where I thought, I'm going to die in here. I'm going to die. I'm not going to make it out of here.
She was badly burned, but she did make it out alive. Lieutenant Wolf did not. Fire professionals say his death and several others in recent years can be attributed to lightweight manufactured wood beams like this. They're used in a majority of new homes constructed or remodeled today. They're strong and inexpensive, a perfectly good building material until they catch fire. 12 News recently tested a manufactured beam alongside a traditional solid wood beam and found the manufactured wood burned through and failed in about 15 minutes, just the time firefighters might be entering a burning home.
Okay, that's what I want you to see. There's an example of the TGI, and there's an example of your conventional lumber. It is much stronger, but not under fire conditions. The other thing we didn't talk about either with that TGI, when you have to run your ductwork, your heating and air, your electric, your gas, you name it, they bore holes through that middle section. Let's call it a web member, right? Any type of truss has a top cord, bottom cord, and some type of web member. So that particle board in the middle, they bore holes through it, cut holes, run conduit through. Now fire can travel both sides of that and actually fail even quicker. All right, fire behavior, it can tell you what's happening inside. This is where we're gonna start getting into the smoke we're talking about. What's the smoke telling you? What do you see? That's where we're going next. 4 key elements Tim brought up already. Volume, velocity, density, color. Those are the 4 things we're considering when we're looking at smoke and how it affects on the fire ground. Okay, volume, the amount of fuel off-gassing. Density, okay? Perhaps the most important factor is the thicker the smoke, the more dangerous it is. Velocity, how fast smoke is leaving, indicates pressure buildup. Only volume and heat can cause pressure. Volume and heat. Color, the degree of black and gray, which stage of heat and which stage of fire is that? Heat and distance of the fire you are from the fire. That color of smoke can tell us a lot. We got a bunch of slides coming up about that. When we're talking volume, okay, when you look at the smoke, is it heavy, moderate, or light? The top picture shows heavy smoke in a single family dwelling. The bottom picture shows maybe light smoke at a large picture. Who knows? We don't got a full view of the high-rise building, what's happening on the interior coreways and doorways and hallways, but difference of smoke you're seeing on the scene. Size of the container matters as well. We already talked about that. A little garbage can fire in a residential home or single family dwelling due to a warehouse. The size of the structure makes a difference as well. Okay. You got to look, where is that smoke coming from? Window, a door, the attic, the basement, because maybe the chimney's on, we had smoke coming out the chimney, we don't realize it. The entire structure. And how much of that smoke's coming out? Is it coming out slow and easy or under pressure, hot and fast? Here's a good example of smoke leaving the building and see what info it gives you. Okay, I'll make sure the volume's down so I can talk. Okay, look at the attic window, okay? What color smoke is there? I see black, I see kind of gray, I see smoke pushing out the eaves here, okay? Look at the second floor, firefighters there with an axe trying to break the ceiling, pull ceiling. Look at conditions on that second floor. Where's my fire? Up above, pressure, turbulent. We talked about you need a buildup of heat and pressure to give you this turbulent, forceful smoke. That's thick black smoke, right? A lot of volume there. Okay. Volume, large fire load. Moderate smoke, possibly room and contents or rooms and contents. Light smoke, maybe a small fire, just getting started, not much going on yet. Here's the same building as it compresses, or the same strip mall, okay? To light smoke, to medium, you may even call that heavy, definitely heavy for that second floor resident, maybe not for the whole strip mall there, or the whole downtown Main Street there, to last one, heavy smoke, okay? Smoke as it's progressing through the fire. As that smoke progresses, that's telling me my fire is progressing. Conditions are changing inside. Same for these three pictures, light, moderate, and heavy. I definitely agree with the first one being light. That middle one being moderate, maybe. They may even border on the heavy side for a single family dwelling. I don't know. It's what you interpret it. I know, though, for the moderate to the heavy picture, I better have enough lines, I better have enough GPM to put out those BTUs it's giving off. We've talked about that a bit. Velocity. Velocity is a key thing. This is that Detroit bailout. That's the picture there, a still picture of the video. Video is going to come up again. We talk about the rate of heat release. That was that video of the Christmas tree burning, how fast it gives off, right? Velocity is influenced by the size and internal features of the structure. The other thing velocity is telling us is it slow or a fast spreading fire, okay? So if I got smoke lazy and wispily coming out, not a lot of velocity, not a lot of heat, not a lot of pressure. I have smoke coming out under pressure, pushing from the gutter line, pushing from the eaves. That's a fast spreading fire. That is a hot fire. Rapid moving smoke, as it says there at the bottom, is hot. That's all you need to know. Okay, back to that picture again, Detroit. I'm going to speed this one up a little bit. We talked about velocity. Black smoke is hot. It is fast, heavy fire, pushing under pressure where there's no gaps. There's no holes here. It's pushing out. That's what you call volume, okay? Large volume of smoke, pressure, that's velocity, okay? As we're here, that's a picture of velocity, speed at which it comes out. I want to get to that turbulent part again to show you that again. This here, that's your kind of lazier smoke, right? A little bit. Then all of a sudden you see it here when you get close. No, it's not. There is pressure. See it twisting? That's speed. with that speed of that smoke, with that velocity, is heat. You need heat to do that as well. Look at it spinning there. Man, that's beautiful. Great example. Okay, I'm going to move this up a little bit. Okay, so all right, right here, watch it twist. See it twirling? It's gray, it's black. You have brown some other places, okay? That is velocity, that is volume, as best as you can see it right there. And with volume and velocity is heat and pressure. Most important factor, I just said it, caused by pressure and heat. Volume affected smoke slows down while exiting, okay? Two things you'll see the laminar flow, and that's that smoke going up, straight up, slow. That's absorbing heat, absorbing it. It keeps absorbing it and keeps increasing. Next thing you're gonna have is that turbulent flow. That ain't absorbing heat anymore. When it's turbulent, it's already hot, and that's why it's turbulent. Here's just an example of turbulent flow to laminar flow, right? Absorbing heat here, gets enough heat, then it starts spinning or creating some current, some movement of that smoke itself. Good on time, right, Tim? We at 108.
Right, let's talk about, we talked about this Tuesday. Let's talk, can you go back to the Detroit video, buddy, and just let it run without sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just get it to the front where it's rocking in the attic. So we've had some questions come through, and I've been talking about it, and everybody's joking about it. Yeah, guys, hitting it hard from the yard. Yeah, we get all that. That's fun. But hey, listen, when Richie and I first were taught by senior firefighters a while ago, 20, 25 years ago, that wasn't called hitting it hard from the yard. That was called, hey, we're losing. I'm not winning here with this 1 3/4. I'm smart enough, and I've been to enough fires as taught to me by older guys to say, hey, we're going to lose. We're going to take a trimming in this building. Let's move back down out of the attic. Let's give it a whack with the deck gun or a 2.5. Let's reset the fire and then get in there quickly. And all of this information that Richie and I learned when we were young firefighters is becoming true now with the tests that are being conducted by the Illinois Fire Service Institute and Underwriters Laboratories. So the key coordination here has to be, if you're going to hit it from the outside, with whatever method you think works best based upon that UL study, you have to be able to get in there within 40 seconds to mop it up, because the fire will grow again after 40 seconds. That's in the UL firefighter safety study on residential fires and strip malls. The strip mall one just came out yesterday. So it has to be coordinated along with ventilation as well. You can't take those windows and expect to win. If you can leave the windows intact and flow water, good, but don't take as many windows as you need, because you're just going to continue the growth phase of the fire. Go ahead, Rich.
So something that Tim talked about, and we'll talk about again, we talked about blitz attack. That was something that was better back in the 1950s. They're putting the Dan Ryan Expressway in, they're putting the Stevenson in, doing these expressways below grade, right? Well, whole nother class. Point is, see there, they're using a stream from the exterior, but is that stream a 2.5? Well, what's your GPM on a 2.5? 350 gallons a minute, 250, 300, 3.25, okay? What are you getting from your deck gun compared to an 1 3/4 hand line? You do not have enough GPM to make an effective fight with 1 3/4 hand line, yet alone 2 1 3/4 hand lines. That fire has a head start on us, right? It has a way head start. It's kicking our butt. I want to swear, and I didn't, thank goodness. It's kicking our keister here, okay? So how do we reset? Large volume of water, upward angle, hitting the ceiling, cooling the environment as best we can, while we simultaneously lead out some hand lines to make an interior fight. Now, if it's rocking and rolling, we can't get enough water going, yeah, then we're going to go defensive. Whole different animal. Here's that velocity we talked about, okay? Air going in low, smoke coming up high. The fire needs oxygen. We're talking about the color of that smoke, giving you a reference of what's going on here, okay? One is color, paper, cloth, light gray. Furniture, dark gray. Furniture can also be black, as you see there, rooming contents, because furniture is made with foam and plastics, so you get that dark gray to black again. Wood elements are brown. Why they say brown is when you get into the structure of itself, the interior wall framing, the structural members of the building, it's usually filtering through that wall, that smoke. That's why you get that brown color, okay? Or it's kind of filtering all the carbons out of it. Then the last one, very dark, mostly black, complete involvement. Here's pictures of each one. Light gray, to your dark gray. We talk about the dark gray being your furniture, or black your carpet and all that stuff. Brown smoke, wood structural components, okay? Why this is brown here, it's getting filtered as it pushes out the crack, okay? But that's telling me I got a heavy volume of fire in the wooden structural members, okay? It's all fire and it's pushing out. Fire is in concealed spaces, okay? Heat and smoke lifting dust from concealed spaces, okay? That's why you get that change in color. Complete involvement, there's your black smoke, thick, black, chunky smoke. Maybe a false read due to plastic. So you may have a really black smoke and not a ton of fire yet, but it may be getting off because the combustibles or the amount of fuel load that is burning. Color variations, as you look at it there, you've got a lot of different colors going on here. Gray, darker gray, little black mixed with gray, there's some brown showing here, okay? A lot of things going on. You'll see different colors of that smoke. Think about a fire you go to today. Let's go back. I know we're going back and forth right here. I see this as I'm pulling up, and then as Tim is the chief on the scene, he starts to see this color. That's telling us we're starting to get some water on the fire. We're changing the conditions. The chief from the outside likes to see this color smoke over here much more than what he's seeing in some of them. You had something, Tim, or no?
No, I was agreeing with what you're saying. So if Richie's on an engine company, he's working that building fire, I'm telling him, hey, Richie, you guys are doing a good job on the first floor, but we're losing on the second. The fire's above you. So that key communication, talking to the company officer, firefighters talking to the company officer, letting them know what they see. That's why everybody's sizing up the fire all the time. Those smoke conditions are going to give you an indicator in the fire behavior, in the firefight, long before someone gets injured or you lose control of the building.
Thanks, buddy. Here's a little video we're going to play here. Building construction, balloon frame constructed building. We don't conduct anything. Boom. We had some type of smoke explosion. Why I would say that's a smoke explosion. You don't see a lot of flame. Remember, where you see flame is where the fire maybe was, and it's a little bit there in the section that's on the ground. Okay. Density. We talked about density a little bit earlier, density of a material. How about the density of the smoke? Not as thick up top, thick, chunky smoke in the bottom. You get that dense smoke, dark in color with speed, you have a lot of fire going on. Also,
hey, Richie, you locked up. You there, buddy?
you hear me?
Now I can hear you. I just can't see. You're good now.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. Thick, dense smoke caused by the particles that have not burned yet. Some of that inky, velvety smoke, kind of shiny, right here. Those two pictures. Okay. The more dense the smoke, the more dangerous it is. We've talked about this already. Thick smoke, under pressure, dark smoke, hot, fast moving fire. What's the smoke telling us here? This one on the left, we got a lot of fire. It's up in the cockloft. It's up in those areas. It's pushing out. It's coming up high in the window where the aerial's going to. So it's coming out high. I mean, it's probably above them in that cockloft there or deep seated. Over in the back, it's tough to see with all that smoke blowing everywhere. Windy day, definitely. Blowing it, the smoke almost laterally and down. Okay, we talked about smoke explosion a bit, not much on backdraft. So we're going to talk about a smoke explosion and backdraft. We got about 10 slides left, so we're almost done here. Smoke explosion occurs when cold or gray smoke clouds ignite after concrete outside its room of origin, okay? But here's the point. You saw a smoke explosion. That's too much definition and wording for me to read to you. You don't want to be bored by that. Smoke explosion was a CFD one we showed you earlier. Rapid push of pressure out and smoke coming out. No visible fire. When you have a backdraft, usually it's a force of flames blowing out and it stays on fire after that. There's burning going on because that whole room ignited and everything lit. With a smoke explosion, you may see some flames, but it doesn't stay burning. Not quite the same way. Smoke explosion, we talked about it, a brief flash of a pocket of gas that lights. We saw this one already, so we're gonna go past that.
A plastics factory goes up in flames in Lima, Peru. As thick smoke billows in the air, locals move their belongings away from the danger. Water's having little impact on the blaze.
You're in the basket
Firemen
of that one,
struggle
right?
on.
Ready to go to work? What are conditions? We got a lot of fire. Would you agree? Look at that smoke. It's engulfing in the basket. Watch what happens. We talked, will smoke burn? Look at that thickness, chunky, rolling, boom. You see the flame that blew out with it? That would have been a backtrack mostly. Smoke coming out the door. See how the flame coming out with it? When you see the flame usually blowing out, usually an indicator of a backdraft over a smoke explosion. I can never say never, never say always, but usually. Okay, this is probably like the Charlie side, okay? We got visible fire showing on the backside. It vented, we're good, okay? Fire blowing in the attic, you saw that. Look at the smoke coming out of the soil stack right there. Was a little closer a second ago. It's pushing out of there. Look at the smoke we have coming out the front here. Now that's a big building. You can see it. It's hard to tell. It's a long building. See that? That back end, remember we had flame coming out over there. There you go. Pressure, velocity, you got both there. Gray and black in color, kind of a warning sign. Yeah. There you go, another good example. That right there is telling me there's a tremendous amount of heat. I need GPM. I need gallons to put out the amount of heat, to absorb the amount of heat that's going within that structure. See the smoke lighting off? Getting the right mixture between the UEL and LEL, lighting off as it exits the building. Whatever was in that attic, whatever that room is, it just flashed over. That's why you have visible flame blowing out your vent hole now.
Ein Trupp unter PA nähert sich einem.
All right, look at this smoke. Kind of lazy, right? Little lazy. You wouldn't be like, oh man, pucker factor would really wouldn't be kicking in yet. What do I got going on now? Granted, I'll give you, we don't have a 360. We don't have a complete view. We're just seeing what's in front here. Smoke here, smoke here. Okay, not bad. We got a fire. We'll find it. No big deal. We're safe. Kind of lured us false sense of security. Now we're maybe taking the door, stretching our line. Something was going. Okay, open the door. See the smoke come out. We just gave it air, right? Look at the smoke right there. Speed, velocity. Okay. Boom. It just ignited. That's an example of a backdraft. Now, with that being said, you're at this doorway. How did you get ready there? Are you a firefighter that has to take his gloves off or her gloves off to put your face piece on and pull up your hood with your helmet? Or can you get game ready with your gloves on? You're there waiting to make that push. Door opens up. We didn't check our stream pattern yet. We didn't check our pressure yet, make sure we're the right pressure in the line. We didn't take a chance, maybe put our head to the floor and look and get a layout of the room. Once this happens, everything changes just like that. If I'm standing at that doorway, not fully geared up, ready to go, I can be in a world of hurt, not even being inside that structure. We have to get game ready with gloves on. If you take your glove off to change a radio channel at a drill, what are you going to do at a real fire? Take your glove off. We want to avoid that. Remember what the smoke's telling you? Reading some tips or hints. Turbulent smoke, flashover, or ignition imminent, right? It's happening. We talked about that turbulent smoke. Brown smoke, structural members. Black smoke, black fire. That black smoke is hot as can be, ready to light off. It's too rich to burn, just needs the right mixture. Smoke the same color and velocity with multiple openings. Fire everywhere, right? Fire everywhere, deep seating because it's coming from multiple openings. So make an entry. Before opening the door, ask the question, is the door hot to touch? Is it blistering? What's behind this door? Remember, you open the door, do you stand right in the doorway or do you open the door and get off to the side? So if it blows, we're not in the chimney, not in the line of path. Okay, is this the door we need to be opening? Oh, you open the back door, we're gonna open the front door, we're gonna take some windows. Man, we just changed that environment, right? Maybe a fire that's limited vented, now it's not limited venting anymore because we opened the door, front door, back door, changed everything. Is the hose line charged and are we ready to go? Okay, I'm just gonna move this down.
Okay. Wow, how about that?
Say, how about that? So,
all right.
What's he doing? Changing the environment. That's a flashover. Smother it out. Not enough oxygen. All of a sudden, starts lighting up. Boom. That's a small example of what's happening in the modern homes we're going to every day. Right there. There's your backdraft happening. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our last slide. But Tim and I are going to stay on here for a little bit to answer questions, do everything else. Up there is my email, okay, rstack@illinois.edu. You want to email myself or Tim? I know he put his email up there earlier so that you guys could see it.
Hey, guys, don't sign off yet, guys. We want to go over a couple things. We got some questions coming up here, too. So Richie talked about being game ready just in the last few slides there. And when Richie and I say game ready, that means all your stuff is on, your hood is up, your waist strap on your SCBA is buckled. That's a huge red flag for Richie and I and all the guys we teach with down here and girls down at U of I. You got to be game ready before you get near that door. And you have to check your nozzle. If you use a combination nozzle, it's right to fight. You know, that means you're on straight stream. You got to bleed that line down. You got to make sure you got a good water supply, and who's ever sending you the water is ready to go. So the smooth bore argument and the combination nozzle argument, you can go in depth on that, and that's like a whole day's class. That's 8 hours. But you can look at the water mapping and how to flow water and how to spin your nozzle, how to apply water, and the fire mapping system down at UL. And you can look at that at the UL Firefighter Safety webpage that we talked about earlier. We got a bunch of classes coming up over the next few weeks. Next week, Jeff Kraft will be doing tick camera evolutions on the Facebook forum, followed by Fireground Communications here on the webpage app. And we have some pump panel operations and some rural command classes coming up. So follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. Our marketing department puts all that stuff out for you guys. It's all free training. So everybody here is getting charged nothing for this training. Nothing that we do, we're charging you guys for. We want to provide good training that's free. Everybody else is charging. We're giving you good training for free here down at the U of I. Make sure you fill out your CEQ so you get credit for the class, and I'll put my email back in there. We did record this class, and we'll post it on all our websites so that you can watch it again and you can share it with everybody. The biggest thing we want you guys to do, Richie and I learned from guys that shared information from us as we came up through the job. Sit down at the kitchen table, talk about fires that you've been to or somebody's gone to. Share this with your brothers and sisters. Make yourself better by talking about fire. Shut your iPhones off for 10 minutes. Push away from Maury Povich or whatever else nonsense you're watching on the Firehouse TV and talk about going to fires. I'll put all those links up on the page now while Richie's talking, and we'll stay on for about another 10 or 15 minutes before we sign off.
The other thing I'd really ask you all to do, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. No one really wants to listen to me at my house, so at least I got you to listen to me for a little bit. With that being said, the CEQs, why we want you to fill out the CEQs. What other classes would you like to see? We've talked about some stuff with quick water or blitz attack. That's one we're hoping to do in the future. We talked about the ones coming up the next class. So remember this, there's 2 forums we're giving you free training. Facebook Live, which is what they just did on Thursday with Tom Mazzeri and Jimmy Dignan, and that's a Facebook Live. And you can go back and still see those videos. We did a whole series on COVID-19. There's still stuff there you may want to catch. And now we're doing the Facebook Live videos, which is more hands-on the fireground training. Then we're doing this. We're doing the Zoom platform, our classroom, per se, classes. The next one's going to be May 4th from 6 to 8 and May 9th, also, I believe, from 6 to 8. They're talking about maybe switching to the afternoon instead of the morning session. If that is, they'll get that information out plenty or in time for all we know. That'll be Fireground Communications. Rural engine and tender operations. I'm definitely listening to that because in Chicago, I don't do any of that. I'm really curious to see that class. Fireground search and rescue, basic company officer, thermal imaging. Now, you're going to see the Facebook Live come up. And what date is the thermal imaging Facebook Live, Tim? You remember?
I believe it's next Thursday. We're just going to tidy that up on Monday, and then marketing will put out all the messages as to what time we're going to go live and what day it's on. But I believe it's going to be next Thursday.
So next Thursday, usually it's 1 o'clock. Facebook Live will be thermal imaging. In July, we're going to do a thermal imaging class in there. So what you saw there, you may be able to tie the two together. And then doing a RIT thing on the virtual classroom here on Zoom, and then strategy and tactics. So your CEQs, your comments, change what we do. We want to give you what you want. So I appreciate you being here, and it's awesome that we can share this information. You got the chat window there. It's a great way to reach out to people and make everything we do is networking, making those connections, sharing this training information. So we appreciate you being here. We thank you for your time. We really hope you got something out of it. What do you got, Tim?
Nothing, just there's some, for those who don't have Facebook, will these be available on YouTube? Yes, Will Pennycook. Yeah, we'll put them all up on our YouTube channel as well. And you don't need a Facebook page to watch our Facebook Live classes. I know all the ones that we've done already, including this one, will be put up on Facebook and YouTube, so you can watch them with your crews, either on your training night if you're a rural department, or for a daily drill with your companies if you're paid on call or full time. So, hey, like we said before, share this information, right? It's free. And that's how we protect each other. That's how we take care of each other. We know that you're going to be responding to the COVID response. There's updates from the COVID response on our Facebook portal as well. Just go to www.fsi.illinois.edu, and you can find everything that we've been working on here to take care of firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics across the state of Illinois and across the country. We are behind you guys 100%, and we're here to support you as the Illinois State Fire Academy. So Richie and I are going to be signing off here now. This will be taped. It already was taped, and we'll be posting it again. I sent you my email. You have Richie's email. And we're looking forward to hearing from you guys so we can improve these deliveries as we go forward. Take care of everybody out there and take care of each other. Richie, you good?
Good, thank you.
Okay, guys, be good. Thanks for joining us today, and be safe out there.